Recently in the gaming sphere, there's been a lot of discussion surrounding game ownership and the way games are made available to players, so I just wanted to talk a bit about the pros and cons of each method of getting games. The first method of getting games is the classic way, buying a physical copy. Let's start with the cons of purchasing physical games. Obviously, the biggest con to physical games is the fact that you have to leave your house and go get the game. Another con is that there are a limited number of copies of these games available. These pieces of physical media have to be manufactured, and producing these games takes time and money. Not only do they have to manufacture the game itself, they also need to make the boxes with the box art, and they have to be shipped to the stores where they're being sold. Another con is that if the companies stop producing the games, then you're out of luck. You'll need to find someone else who already owns a copy and buy it off of the secondhand market. If the game is rare or particularly well sought after, you could see the price for the game rise drastically to the point where the price for a 20-year-old game on websites like eBay are even higher than the price the game was when it was brand new. Another con that I didn't realize until I had to organize all of my games is that physical games take a lot of space. You're gonna need a shelf or a box or a closet or just somewhere to put all of the games that you own. Another negative is that you can lose your copy of a game. I've lost several game cartridges over the years and I have no idea where they are, so I can't play them anymore even though I still own the games. Another downside is that physical media can degrade over time. We all probably have that one old disc that refuses to read. We all probably have that one cartridge that seemingly won't work no matter how many times we blow into it. Sooner or later, these physical games will stop working. It's just a matter of time. But physical games do have some solid pros as well. The first is that there really is no feeling like having a physical version of a game. Each copy feels personal. I have a bunch of games with beaten up cases that I could fairly easily replace, but something feels wrong about replacing them. They're a part of my gaming journey. Some people like to write their names on their games, some people put cheat codes in their game manuals, and I occasionally put stickers onto stuff as a kid. Having a collection of physical games, no matter how small, is cool. These games look great on a shelf, and it feels weirdly satisfying to take one out, open up the case, grab the disc, and pop it into your console. Another pro to owning physical games is that the game is yours to keep. If something happens to your console or your account or anything like that, you'll still have your game. Another pro to physical is the second-hand market. I know I criticized the second-hand market earlier for how expensive games can be on there, but games are not always outrageously priced, and having that option to buy them off of someone else gives you access to games from years ago that are most likely delisted or unavailable. The second-hand market also allows you to potentially get your money back once you finish the game. You can sell it back to the store that you bought it from or to someone else. Now that we've talked about physical games, let's move on to digital games. Downloading games has been a thing for a long time on PCs, but for the better part of the past 2 decades, it's become a thing for consoles as well. As internet speeds increased and hard drive space increased, downloading games from online storefronts became a massive portion of game distribution. Let's shake things up and start with the pros this time. The most obvious plus to digital downloading is that digital games are impressively accessible. At any point in time, if the game I want is available, I can go online and buy it. No need to get dressed and get a ride to the store, no need to wait for shipping, no need to wait for the store to have a copy in stock. I can just buy it and play it. Another benefit to digital games is that they only take up as much space as the physical size of your hard drive. You don't have to worry about having to find a place in your house to put the game. Another pro is that once you have bought a digital game, you don't have to worry about misplacing the game behind a couch or at a friend's house. You essentially have a cloud backup that's available to you at almost any time. Even if your system gets damaged or becomes unusable in some way, you can just get a new one and download all of your games again. Another pro is that you don't have to worry about having a disk drive or cartridge slot for a downloadable game. Like a lot of computers nowadays, my PC doesn't have a disk drive. I have to use an external one to play physical games. If you own the Xbox Series S or the PS5 Digital Edition, you don't have a disk drive either, which means you can't play physical games altogether. Over the years, I've had numerous problems with unreliable cartridge slots and disk drives, so not having to worry about that with digital games is one less headache to worry about. Another pro is the free games on digital storefronts. Unless you're getting some sort of bundle deal like buy 2 used games, get 1 free, you're probably not gonna walk up to a brick and mortar store and get a free physical copy of a game. However, on platforms like Steam and Epic Games, I've gotten tons of free games. Digitally purchasing games is cool, but there are some flaws to doing it this way. The first con of digitally downloading games is obviously games can be delisted at any time. When a game is delisted from an online game distribution service, it's no longer available for people to purchase. Usually, even if a game goes out of print, you can typically find copies in stores for a while. But if a game is delisted, you're out of luck unless you're willing to shell out an absurd amount of cash to buy a whole console with the game already installed on it, or you already purchased the game. But even if you already purchased the game, you might not be safe. Some online stores will let you re-download delisted games as long as you have already purchased them, but some storefronts like the Wii Shop channel will eventually not even allow you to re-download already purchased games from them. Another downside is that digital games are tied to the account that you purchased them on, so if something happens to your account, you could be in a bad spot. Another con to downloading games is that if you don't have fast internet, whether that be due to your plan or where you live, it could potentially take several hours, if not days, to download a game. Also, you need hard drive space to actually store these games. I'm sure a lot of you watching have had several moments when you wanted to download a game, but you didn't have enough space on your hard drive, so you had to go around deleting stuff to make room or just bite the bullet and get another drive. And if you ever wanted to go back and play those games that you deleted to make room for the new game, you'd have to spend time re-downloading them. Another con to digital games that I have to mention is digital rights management, aka DRM. DRM is the use of systems by people like the copyright holder, the publisher, and the distribution platform to prevent you from doing anything with the game files that they don't want you to, like cheating in games, sharing your games, and pirating games. Some common DRM practices include forcing you to have an internet connection to play the game, locking a game to one specific account, and limiting how many times you can install a game. Besides buying games physically and digitally, there's a third model of obtaining games that's become more prominent in recent years: the subscription service. I guess technically this sort of thing did exist with stuff like GameFly, but I'm referring to the digital subscription services whereby paying monthly, yearly, or whatever amount of time, you can gain access to a library of games. We've seen this with stuff like Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, and Nintendo Switch Online. Let's start with the cons. Games that you have from subscription services are only available to you for as long as you're subscribed to the service. If you buy a physical or digital copy of a game, as long as you have a working disc or the game downloaded on your system, you'll be able to play it. However, in order to play a game on a subscription service, you have to continue to pay the recurring cost of the subscription. Otherwise, you completely lose access to the game. Another con is that if you stop playing games for a while, whether it's due to school, work, or some other responsibility, you're essentially giving money away for free because you're getting nothing out of the subscription at that point. Another con is that subscription services frequently remove games from their services. If you missed the time frame when the game was available, then you're out of luck. And unlike buying games digitally, where you can still play the game if it's delisted as long as you bought and downloaded the game ahead of time, you don't get that privilege with several subscription services. Now that we've gone through the cons, let's talk about the pros. Subscription services are probably the best when it comes to accessibility. By paying your monthly fee, you can get access to dozens, if not hundreds, of games. Another upside is that the cost of a monthly membership is almost always going to be less expensive than buying a new game outright. So it's a pretty solid money-saving strategy. Piggybacking off of that point, services like Game Pass have day one releases for new games. So instead of dropping $60 or $70 to buy a new release, you can play it the moment it drops as it's already included in your monthly bill. I've been able to experience tons of games that I probably would have never tried because I didn't want to spend money on buying them. Subscription services are also a great way to test out games to see if they're for you. Some digital storefronts do have refund policies, but they can be hit or miss. So having a way to just try out a game for several hours to see if you enjoy it and not be stuck with it afterwards is great. Now that we've been through the pros and the cons of each method of getting games, I guess it's that time in the video where I give my take as to which way I think is the best. Well, obviously it's going to depend on you as a person, and personally at this point in my life, I like buying games digitally the best. Next, I'd say subscription services, and last, it's buying games physically. In a perfect world where I had an infinite amount of space, I'd love to have physical copies of all of my games. I'd love to have a huge shelf of games that I can just sit back and admire. But that, my dear viewer, is a dream. It's Fantasyland. Plastic boxes take up space, and there's only so much I can fit in a single place. If I ever move, I'll have to pick up, store, and ship those games to my new place. I'd need shelves, boxes, closets, or drawers to put them all in. I guess I could rent out storage space, but do I really want to start renting out a whole storage unit for a bunch of games I may only play once every blue moon? Physical games are amazing. I love them, but once you start amassing a collection of more than a few dozen games, they just stop being practical. Moving on to subscriptions, subscription services have made it extremely easy for me to play new games. I'm always skeptical when it comes to purchasing a new game. When a new game comes out, there's tons of hype, everyone's talking about it, and I want to join in too, but I have to be a little cautious. Maybe everyone's just caught up in the hype. Maybe this just might not be a game for me. If I end up spending money on it and I end up not liking it, then it could just end up being a waste of money. Subscription services have helped eliminate that issue. Subscription services aren't perfect because not every game is going to be on them, and even if they are, they could be on a service that you don't have, meaning you'll have to pay an extra monthly fee to play one or two games. And as you can probably tell, the combined price of all of these services can really add up. My favorite way to get games nowadays is just outright buying them digitally. It's convenient, it's quick, and it could potentially be really cheap. Deals for digital games happen insanely quickly. Digital games are cool because anytime I feel like playing these games, I can just download them without having to worry about losing my copy or not being able to play it because I don't feel like paying the subscription that month. Like I said before, buying games digitally isn't perfect. DRM does exist. I hate when games are delisted, and if Steam ever shuts down, I could potentially be losing out on a ton of money. But at the moment, buying digital games just makes the most sense for me. But hey, feel free to let me know in the comments if I missed a really good reason why you might pick buying physical or even using subscription services over buying digital. Who knows, maybe it'll change my mind, or maybe you could change someone else's mind who's reading. In any case, thanks for watching, y'all, and have a great rest of your day.